If you have been paying attention to my videos as of late, you may have noticed that I have been talking a lot about social media and how that relates or how that perpetuates eating disorders. And I wanted to make a video today, and to be quite honest, I don't know the exact, very clear, distinct message that I want to say in this video. It's more just a conglomeration of thoughts that have been passing through my head as I have been searching the interwebs and participating in watching videos, listening to podcasts, scrolling on people's Instagram. And I always have you guys in mind. You guys who are struggling with loving your body and having a happy, healthy relationship with food, and struggling overall with just disordered eating, eating disorders, whatever level or where you are at on the spectrum. I always am thinking about you guys when I'm watching this stuff and going like, I mean, that right there would have led to a 3-year relapse just watching that, because of the things that were mentioned in that video and just how toxic or misleading they were. So now I am out of this. I did my due time, guys. I did 11+ years of suffering through multiple eating disorders, anorexia, orthorexia, and exercise addiction. As a result, at the age of 14, I lost my period and I didn't get it back until the age of 25. So I was in this, guys, but now I'm out, and what I do for a living now is I help other girls see the light, and I help them get the tools and the inspiration and the resource and the guidance that they need to get out of, for lack of a better term, hellhole of a chapter in their life. And so now that I'm out of it, and yet still very much with it, aka I'm still on social media, it's like I'm going back and I'm looking at all these things that I used to look at with way different eyes. Way different eyes. And I wish I saw everything going on in the social media realm with the eyes that I see it now. And so I wanted to just share with you guys what I'm seeing so that you can do your own due diligence of deciding what is going to be appropriate media for you to consume. So I first off just wanted to say that I find it really strange, alarming, and honestly just, I don't like the word sad, but I find it quite alarming that nearly every other mental health disorder is talked about amongst celebrities and Instagram influencers and YouTube gurus and all of that. They talk about depression, they talk about anxiety, they talk about those things. And yet, for some reason, it's so hush-hush to mention that you have an eating disorder or that you had an eating disorder. And I can't for the life of me understand why. Why we would be so open at being like, you deal with anxiety, I deal with anxiety. But then when it comes to just standing up to our followers and be like, I'm dealing with disordered eating, it's not a thing. In fact, it's kind of the opposite, which is so interesting. Instead, we see girls who have lost their period are obsessively counting calories and tracking macros and really just not feeling happy in their life and not even feeling healthy. And yet they are the ones who are selling, recipe ebooks and fitness programs. And they are posting pictures of their body with their 6-pack abs like every 2 seconds online. And yet you will never hear them admit that they have an eating disorder. When they go through anxiety, when they're going through a hard time, sure, but you will never hear them admit that they have an eating disorder. So let's dive into this today. I'm just going to share some of my thoughts. And like always, I just want to state, like I did in my TikTok video, which if you have not seen, I recommend doing it. I watched what I eat in the day videos, which were alarming, ridiculous, and just flat out stupid. But I watched them for you so that I could comment on them, and you can watch that video right here. But I said in that video, I like people. I really do. And any time that I in looking through someone's social media or the work or the content that they're creating, it is in no way to say that this person is bad. No, not at all. I would be a hypocrite if I did that because, trust me, I had an Instagram account and I was talking about veganism, and that's what I was doing before. And so I made videos and posts and, coached and talked with people all about why they should be vegan, how to be vegan, and X, Y, and Z. And so I'm not blaming these people. I'm not judging these people. I'm simply sharing my thoughts. Oh, and another thing, I never diagnose people. Never. It's not my title. It's not my job to do that. I do not diagnose people. So I'm literally pointing out things that I see in someone who is diagnosed with an eating disorder, that I may see commonalities in other people, but that does not mean that I'm diagnosing that one person with an eating disorder. That is something a psychiatrist needs to do. So I'm not trying to do that. I'm simply just pinpointing different behaviors that we can see may not be the healthiest. Okay, it doesn't mean they are full-blown eating disorder-esque. It means that maybe they are showcasing some tendencies that could be seen in an eating disorder. But with all that said, this video is for educational purposes and it's just for you to learn. So let's just start. And I don't know a better place to start other than The Balanced Blonde. If you guys don't know who Jordan Younger is, she is a very popular blogger, podcaster, has a huge social media following. She has been on the news. She has been, I believe, on what was it, Dr. Phil? She has had quite the career in the public eye. Jordan Younger, it's so interesting. So she came out, she used to be the blonde vegan. I believe that was her name. I could be wrong, so I will correct it right here. But after years of being vegan, writing books about it and talking about veganism and just being an activist for that diet, she came out saying that she was dealing with an eating disorder. Someone who finally admits it. Thank you, Jordan. She goes on to all these news outlets and shares how her, healthy eating was really just an eating disorder. And she took it too far. She took it to the extreme, and it really severely impacted both her mental and her physical health. I really found Jordan's story inspiring when I first met her years ago, and I followed along with her story. She ended up changing her name from the blonde vegan to the balanced blonde, and that was so great. She's preaching balance. She's preaching like, hey, maybe we really need to just be listening to our bodies more and we need to be eating all foods. Great, amazing. I really resonated with her work and loved it. But then somewhere along the way, things started becoming very disordered again and very orthorexic-like. Again, I never diagnosed anyone with anything, but I would just say that a lot of the things that she now shows just seems like she has dipped back into her orthorexic days. So again, Jordan, vegan, had a lot of health issues, realized it was an eating disorder, came out saying how unhealthy her vegan diet was, advocated for eating a balanced diet, and now she is back to eating a vegan diet. This, for the life of me, I cannot understand. I cannot understand. She was a proponent of balanced, and to me, a vegan diet, even if you're trying to eat a balanced vegan diet, is inherently restrictive and unbalanced. Yes, that's right. I do not think that there is a way for you to eat a vegan diet in a balanced way. Sure, you can take a vegan diet and you can balance that out via, balancing out certain macronutrients, but you cut out all of this. You can't say it's not restrictive. So I don't see it as being balanced, and it's very interesting that she is now such a huge proponent of juice fast and cleansing. I think she did the master cleanse, which is where you just do maple syrup and water, or maybe she was the one, sorry, she might have been the one who did the full-on water fasting. That's it. I think Jordan ended up doing water fasting. So she's doing all these crazy things again. Here's a pic that I got off of her Instagram. This is day 8 on her water fast, and I just want to show something here. I've been really interested lately in like true crime type of stuff, and I've been listening to a bunch of investigators talk about body language. I actually got interested in this when the Gabby Petito case came out, and a lot of people who used to formerly work for the FBI and stuff like that, they were analyzing the footage that they got from the police cams. And something that just it points out to me, just because I've been extra aware of people's body language, is her hands here. If you zoom in on her hands, you see that she is clenching her hands in a fist. This is a woman who has been, you know, living solely on water for 8 days. And you can see she kind of just looks a little weak. She looks like she really needs her 2 feet firmly planted on the ground to make sure that she is standing still, and she can't just have 1 foot out, 1 foot, you know, in. Her hands are just really interesting to me. It's almost like it's just her body's tightening up, it's tensing. Water fasts are obviously very demanding on the body, and I know Jordan has been dealing with a lot of health issues, but water fasting seems a little intense. And again, to just put it out there to your followers, like, everyone should be doing this. This is amazing and great. That's really dangerous advice here, because that can really mess up the body in a lot of ways. But I really wanted to pinpoint how just strange her hands look here. She looks very constricted in this picture. Things that I know in my orthorexic days, trust me, I wanted to intermittent fast. I wanted to do water fast. I tried doing one for like 3 days and epically failed, despite my like very disciplined like rigidity with food at that point. Radically failed. But I would do juice cleanses. I did the Purium cleanse. I did Airbon. I did all these things, right? It was going from one thing to the next, and it progressively just became stricter and stricter and stricter. And, you know, all the while I was proclaiming I'm happy, I am healthy, I am healed from my eating disorders. And I look at it now going, what on earth was I doing? I was so disordered at that time. So this is just, it's really unfortunate when we see things like this, because then all these women who are watching Jordan, and they, you know, they come to her because, hey, this is this girl who was very open, and she suffered with an eating disorder, and she shared with us her thoughts on veganism. She is now going back. So what does her herd do? The people who are following her, they now go back, and they start listening to what she's saying now about we should be doing juice fast and intermittent fasting and cleansing and doing all these things. And it is a very dangerous world out there. Taking even just a quick look through some of Jordan's YouTube videos that were posted within this last year, and you see, you know, what I eat in a day, vegan, intermittent fasting, and food combining. Oh my gosh, that is a lot of diet culture-esque things. It's a lot of food rules. That's a lot of not being intuitive, which again, she was standing for that in the beginning, and now she's back to just the I'm, you know, being super regimented with my food and eating in a certain way. And then I just found the top story also very ironic, or the top video here, my plant-based journey, the whole story from vegan to not vegan and back again. And again, it's the wishy-washy, it's the flip and flop, it's the constantly searching for the next new thing, and really just not just allowing your body to eat what it wants to eat, and instead always putting these labels on it. What worries me about this is that, you know, in my sphere of friends and also colleagues and other people in this field, everyone who I know who is like healed from an eating disorder, like very, very healed, they would not touch a diet book with a 10-foot pool. Right? They would not go back to labeling themselves a certain diet. They would not do something like a water fast for multiple days. They wouldn't, because they are recovered from their eating disorder, and they understand that eating in a restrictive way is not supportive nor nourishing for their health. They also understand that that is a quick and slippery slope back into the eating disorder prison from whence they came, and they don't want to go there because they have fully experienced the freedom over here. So when we see these people who are claiming to help people heal from eating disorders, disorders or claiming that they have healed themselves from an eating disorder. And then they also, in the same sentence, tell you which diet you should be doing or which diet they are on. It raises a bunch of red flags for me. And I want you guys to start noticing this so that you can be raising these red flags for yourself. Another great example of this that I really just find so alarming is this girl, Audra. Now, she, again, was someone who really helped me in the beginning of my journey. She was talking about the importance of food freedom, of eating lots of food so that you can get your period back. It was great. It was supportive, and I loved her work. Over the years, though, I noticed that she, she started being vegan again, and she started eating copious amounts of vegetables, which you can see in all of her posts here, even though I've read some of her posts that are like, you shouldn't only eat vegetables, like you need to make sure your meals are balanced. But then I look at what she's eating and what she's posting and I'm like, that's a lot of vegetables in every single meal. I'm not seeing any animal protein. I'm not seeing any cheese or eggs or fish or anything like that. And so I see it just being a bunch of vegetables with some starches or carbs. So again, my issue here is that it's very misleading when we start following these people and they start saying like, I'm going to help you get your period back. Here is my diet book that literally cuts out like 50% of the food that is available to us. I came from a restrictive eating disorder. I understand how slippery of a slope it is to start taking food out of one's diet. Unless you have an allergy, of course. If you are actually severely allergic to gluten, please do not eat gluten, okay? But if you're not allergic to it, you shouldn't be just restricting it for no reason. And that's kind of the point where I came to in my journey. Since helping people get their period back, like she had to get her period back, she has now kind of switched her her message or her audience into weight loss. And I find this very weird to have two things going on at once. To be someone who helps people get their period back and then to be someone who's talking about weight loss.
So all on her page you will see things like this, like a chickpea chocolate chip cookie dough. And like I said, guys, I'm all about food freedom. But something when it comes to, helping people undo this whole, restrictive dieting, the idea of I need to eat quote unquote clean and I need to put on weight to get my period back and find food freedom and just not be so obsessed with food. I wouldn't advocate for doing something like a chickpea chocolate chip cookie. I would be advocating for literally make your mama's homemade chocolate chips, use real flour, real butter, and use egg in it, not a flax egg, and don't use chickpeas. Actually just use the ingredients that go in a real cookie. Give yourself the real thing. I'm not against having new recipes, doing things like that, but I just feel like things like this can just start to promote, again, that sort of orthorexic mentality around food even more. And I feel like, if you're helping someone get their period back, you need to be normalizing just eating regular food. So we also see things like this on her page, which some of the stuff is, yeah, I totally agree with. Things that you think you should do, counting calories, yeah, I totally am against doing that. Never feeling full, yeah, at times we feel full. We eat in abundance, and that's beautiful and that's good. But then she says this, what actually works? And listen to this. This is what's so funny about it. Eat on a regular basis and eat till satisfaction. And the next one down, focus on a wide variety of whole plant foods, especially carbs. That right there screams diet. I love the whole phrase, if it looks like a diet, smells like a diet, tastes like a diet, it is a diet. So while she may believe that she is promoting, intuitive eating and food freedom, you can't say I am a proponent of food freedom and then say you should only be eating, plant foods and tons of carbs. Just saying.
To get your period back, many women need to gain weight, quite a bit of weight for a lot of women, to be honest. I gained a ton of weight, and that's what was needed to help restore my hormonal balance, because my body was not happy with the amount of calories I was eating. My body was severely malnourished, my body was severely taxed, and my body did not have a high enough body fat percentage to menstruate. It's very needed to have a high body fat percentage. And so this can just be very confusing when someone goes on there and they see this person saying, hey, let's get your period back. Here's this vegan diet. And also, I talk a lot about weight loss, and here's my like weight loss program that you can do, which is literally, she sells it right next to the Get Your Period Back program. I'm not saying that weight loss is a bad thing. I'm not that type of person that says no one should, ever want to lose weight. I don't think that at all. I think that there is unhealthy ways to lose weight. I think there is a mentality of I hate myself. I just want to whittle myself down to the smallest size so that I don't hate myself anymore. Yeah, I see that all as wrong. But someone wanting to feel confident in their body, and strengthen their body, have more lean muscle mass, I'm not against that. I am against doing it in unhealthy ways, and I'm against people trying to do it when they are trying to get their period back, or when they are suffering from an eating disorder. I'm kind of against weight loss at those times, just saying. We see this back and forth, guys, with so many other people, and this is why I'm hitting the alarm bell here. I'm raising the red flags of, you really have to be careful of the content that you are consuming. And you really have to be careful not to just blindly obey, that sounds so dictatorship, but you have to be careful of not just blindly listening to everything that you hear online, because a lot of these people are flip-flopping in between diets every 2 seconds. Not a judgment. I did it too. I'm really sad or regretful that I, promoted all that stuff on social media, but I have since now learned not to do that and not to be someone who is switching back and forth in between diets. And I've just taken more the route of food freedom, eat everything, listen to your body to figure out what works best for you, but don't have any food rules. I just think that that is the smarter way to go. But with this flip-flopping, we saw this a lot back in 2019. Yeah, it would probably be 2019, where we had all these vegan influencers all of a sudden leave veganism. One in particular was Elise Parker. Elise Parker grew her whole following, a large following, on being raw vegan. And she would do all of these videos about her eating these huge salads and mono-mealing on fruit and all of that. And I'm not gonna lie, I watched her a couple times when I was suffering from my eating disorder, and I remember thinking, like, I wouldn't even do that. Like, that seems so restrictive. So it just kind of gives you insight into how restrictive her raw vegan days were. But Elise all of a sudden went from being a proponent of the raw vegan diet and educating people, teaching people how to become raw vegan, to all of a sudden doing a carnivore challenge for 30 days. This is a classic case of the extremes. And again, what I have found in my health journey is that health does not lie in the extremes. It lies in the balance. And being extreme is something that our society really likes for some reason, especially here in America. I feel like it's either we are an intense gym junkie or we never once step foot in a gym. Either we eat sugar all the time or we never even take a single bite. And we've really lost this whole idea of moderation. And luckily, I do have to say, it does seem like Elise has finally found moderation in her diet. She doesn't really do what I eat in the day videos anymore, and she doesn't really post that on her Instagram stuff. But what I have seen of her Instagram stories and some of the videos that she's done is that she finally is eating carbs and animal protein and fruit and vegetables and cheese and all that stuff. And so she does seem to have found more of a balance for herself. But something I have noticed is but it's just crazy to look back at her journey and to see all of the, extremes that she went through and just how vocal she was about those things. And again, it just becomes dangerous when we do that, because now you're getting all these people, these young girls, to all of a sudden go raw vegan, and then you're like, wait a minute, raw vegan's awful, let's go this way. And you're leading the herd into the dark here, and you're taking everyone on your own personal journey, and they can start adopting it for their own because they think that you're speaking from this authoritative, why do I hate that word? They think that you are the authority, put it that way, and they are going to listen and follow what you say. And again, I just am pinpointing this out so that you guys see how up and down and turned around everyone seems to be on the interwebs. Fern Cotton, do you guys know who she is? She wrote a book called The Healthy Vegan. Oh, why can't I ever remember? There you go. She wrote a book called The Happy Vegan. And it was years after that she finally admitted that she struggled with an eating disorder. When you are someone who is struggling with an eating disorder, I really think it's best to keep all advice about nutrition just to yourself. I really, really do. Because it gets very complicated when you have an eating disorder voice that is telling you all these things about nutrition. So it's a prime just example of someone who goes, they're struggling with the eating disorder, they're making all this money off of like what they're preaching, and then they come out years later saying, I actually was like ruining my health, I wasn't happy at all, and I was struggling with an eating disorder. It happens all the time. It happens more than you think. Unfortunately, maybe I take this back. Coming out with it doesn't happen all the time, but this type of stuff is happening all of the time. And so we go on social media again, and we see all these pictures of these girls, we listen to these podcasts, we watch these YouTube videos, and they seem so sure and so happy and so like healthy and put together and all of that, and we are failing to see the behind the scenes. And we need to start pulling back the curtain because there is a lot to be seen behind the scenes. And I think if we clearly saw that, and if people were more open about them struggling with disordered eating thoughts or struggling with body image, then we would know to really guard ourselves against just blindly following them and everything that they do.
Are you someone who has been following this YouTube channel, listening to my podcast, and following me on Instagram and getting a lot of good educational, inspirational support on my page? If so, there is a way that you can say thank you for making all this content for free and available for you guys on all the social media platforms by buying me a cup of coffee. It's as simple and as cheap as $5, but $5 goes a long way to help make all of this work just a little bit more sustainable. So you can click the link below to buy me a cup of coffee. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you being here. Now, let's go back to the video.
Now, the next person that I wanted to chat about is Stephanie Buttermore. Now, I don't want to say negative things about Stephanie and everything that she showed about All In. I think she really was a big forerunner. Is that how you would put it? Like, she was a big part of this whole just like everyone learning about All In, which is a really like important protocol for so many people and helping them get their period back. What I just found interesting though with Stephanie is, again, this lack of just being raw and vulnerable with saying what was really going on. I'm not diagnosing, I'm not saying this was actually going on for her, but it seems like to me that Stephanie was dealing with some form of eating disorder or disordered eating at the least. But she kept on brushing it off and saying that I just need to do this to fix my extreme hunger that I have because I'm never feeling satiated. So being an eating disorder recovery coach, I look at this and I go, well, the reason someone experiences extreme hunger or this like insatiable desire to eat food is usually due to restriction. And when you look at what she was doing during the week, you could see that that very much was at play. She was restricting, over-exercising, getting her body to a very low body weight, aka putting her body in energy debt. And And then having these crazy cheat meals on the weekend where she would eat 10,000 calories plus. And so she went through this whole journey to get her period back and to deal with the extreme hunger and all of that. And again, there was just no mention of, I'm dealing with really bad body image and just like disordered eating and maybe an eating disorder. Again, I'm not diagnosing her, so I have no idea. Maybe she really doesn't. But everything that I saw in kind of just the behaviors and the physical symptoms that she was experiencing really point to, you know, someone struggling with an eating disorder. And so something else I really want to mention is I think we think of, when we think of eating disorder and someone suffering with an eating disorder, we automatically, I think a lot of us think of a like maybe tall, thin, white female. Raise your hand if that was immediately what you thought. We don't think of the fitness model having an eating disorder. We don't think of the athlete having an eating disorder. We don't think of the, you know, the woman who is of color and is of a curvy body size and shape having an eating disorder. We seem to just think that it is thin, white, tall woman. Eating disorders can come in any size, any shape, any color, any ethnicity, any gender. And so, yeah, maybe these people you follow don't fit the stereotypical role of what an eating disorder looks like, right? So we need to stop thinking that, oh, because they look tan and fit, they don't have an eating disorder. I wish that was something I really understood, because I got so caught up in looking at all these other people and thinking, well, how are they doing this? How does she still have a period and she's like so ripped, right? How is she feeling not crazy with food when she only eats 1,000 calories a day? Just because someone doesn't look like they have an eating disorder doesn't mean they don't have an eating disorder. But overall, thank you, Stephanie, for really, you know, healing your body, doing that work, and overall you put out amazing content on everything. Just pointing out, again, sometimes it's weird that we don't really just admit what's really going on. Now it's our mental health. We're not supposed to just, or we don't have to open up to the world about this, right? But she chose to open up to the world about this. All these other influencers are choosing to open up to the world about their health, and they open up about their anxiety and about other things. But again, so weird that we don't want to just admit that we are struggling with nourishment and struggling with body image. It's like I have created this perfect body, right, that I'm portraying to the world, and I don't dare tell anyone that I'm actually in complete hell because of it. We need to be more raw, I think, and really sharing those things so that other women don't think that they are crazy and suffer in silence because everyone else is doing it and they're not suffering. It's just not true. Now, the next person that I would be sorely sad if I missed in this episode is Freely the Banana Girl. Now, thank you, Freely. You actually have really made my business quite profitable. I have met with so many women who come to me after listening to Freely's videos and doing her crazy banana and date diet. So many women, it's actually quite sad. Freely, again, what's interesting here is she is actually someone who is saying that she helps people with eating disorders, and that if you want to heal from an eating disorder, you should do her crazy diet of 51 bananas a day. Again, healing a restrictive eating disorder with restrictive eating. Let me think. How is that going to go? Yeah, not too well, okay, guys. Bananas simply do not have enough of the nutritional value that you need to fully sustain yourself and do have a monthly menstrual cycle. Freely is, in my mind, just a, oh gosh, do I say this online? A gross depiction of diet culture. It's someone who is so restrictive, so angry too. If you listen to her videos, it's like, why are you so defensive on all of this? You listen to her like response videos to other people being like, oh my gosh, and they ate chicken, and it's just like, it's, oh my gosh, they eat chicken and they're so bad and F you, and it's like, oh my gosh, you are so worked up about this. Like, it's just food, lay back. Like, it's not that big of a deal. But they make it such a big deal, and it's really sad when it's this, she's promoting freedom, she's promoting health, she's promoting all of these things, and these people just gobble it up. They gobble it up and they go, yeah, what have we been doing for the last millions of years? Eating meat, in the last thousands of years eating dairy, in the last 6 million years of eating eggs. What have we been thinking? We really should only be eating bananas. It's crazy. The things that she puts on her stuff is shocking, crazy, alarming, so unbalanced, so unhealthy. And yet she slaps the big label of health on it. I hate this word health, guys. I really, really do, because what is health? And anyone can say that this or that is healthy. And in my mind, there just really isn't an answer to this question of what is health and what is healthy, because we're all so unique and we're all so different. And again, that is why on my page, I'm not trying to like, not being egocentric here. I'm just saying that is why I've been very adamant in my work, in my business, in the content that I create, in the things that I say with my clients. I've been very, very adamant about food freedom and eating everything. I think it is the best thing that you can do, because look at how crazy all of this is. It's so crazy out there. We have fully raw Christina, never eating cooked food, and, you know, claiming she's so healthy. And then we have all these like paleo people and keto people and cutting out carbs and doing all this stuff. And then we find out years later they struggled with an eating disorder, or they're dealing with health issues and things like that. It's absolutely ridiculous. The best thing that you can do in terms of nutrition, I think, is to unlearn every single thing that you have ever learned or heard about nutrition. I honestly think that that is like the #1 best advice I could give to anyone. Unlearn it, throw it away, put it in a trash can, paper shred it, I don't care, get rid of it. This is your experience here in life. You need to sit down with food and heal your relationship with it. You need to determine, does this support me or is this not supporting me? Getting to a place where you don't have this guilt, this shame. Again, it can come from this, because it's like, this person's being fully vegan. They say veganism is the best and I have to never eat butter or anything, and they're doing it perfectly. And then I go and I eat some butter and I'm freaking the heck out. This shouldn't be happening. We shouldn't be feeling so guilty and stressed about what we are eating. It shouldn't be a mathematical game. So anyone you follow out there who's telling you you need to be meticulously counting your calories, please, for the love of God, unfollow them. You are not a machine. You are a beautiful soul, a beautiful organism, and you have this beautiful body that is your vehicle for Earth. You will require at different times of your life different types of food, different amounts. You will appreciate different taste. You will, in summer, want more, summery foods, the tomatoes, the cucumbers, the tropical fruit. And in winter, you might want the stews, the oxtail, the lamb, the meat, the chicken, all of that stuff. Honor the natural ebb and flows of your body, and that is something that a diet book cannot teach you. That is why I want you to be present with your food, and I want you to learn to understand what is going to work for your body. I also want you to understand that all these crazy food rules that our world has created, they're just that. They're crazy food rules. Why are we paying attention to them? Oh, because this person says that. Exactly. Stop listening to these people online. They're dealing with their own stuff too. Just like we showed in some of these things, like raw alignment, or at least Parker, just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. This girl, Audra, like healing her, hormones, and then now teaching weight loss. Fern Cotton writing a book on veganism and then saying that she was dealing with an eating disorder. I have personally stepped away from the health and wellness space, which is weird because you're thinking, aren't you in it? No, I do not spend my time listening or reading a bunch of nutritional blogs and articles. I just don't. And I don't, not because I'm saying nutrition doesn't matter, but I'm saying that it's pretty commonsensical, pretty just easy to figure out when you take the role of just, I'm gonna, for the most part, pick good quality when I can. Yeah, I like supporting local organic meats, and I have my own like chickens here, and we feed them organic feed and just food scraps. I like that. I'm totally into that. I think there's a lot of nutrition in that stuff. I am, into eating good quality breads and stuff like that. It's not in a I need to label myself way. I will eat crappy, if that's what you want to call it, bread. I will eat anything that is given to me at a restaurant, no matter what the quality is. But it's like you can have principles for yourself of, yeah, overall, I like to choose more fresh, local, organic, sure. But the second that we start like tracking our macros and saying that I can't have this butter because it's more than 3 ounces of fat for my daily intake, I'm sorry, I'm out. I'm completely out with that. Now, there's one last person here that I'd like to mention that I really appreciated her speaking up so openly about this, and that is Lee from America. Lee, she had this wellness blog, and she was, preaching eating this and that, doing matcha lattes and everything, and then she finally came out and said, yeah, I've been dealing with orthorexia. I've been dealing with an eating disorder. And now she's such a huge advocate about like really having that freedom and not being so obsessed with food. So there are people out there that you can find that are preaching this message of food freedom. Now it is your choice to decide which content that you are consuming, that you are putting into your precious mind every single day. You ingest that, you guys. Be careful with the media that you are watching. When someone is going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, I'm vegan, I'm not vegan, I'm keto, I'm not keto, I'm this, I'm that. Let them go on their journey. Let them figure it out. You do not need to be dragged on for the ride. If you found this video helpful and supportive, please make sure that you support me back by clicking the like button. And please make sure that you subscribe and you hit the little bell so that you get notified when I come out with a new video. Also, comments are amazing, and I love listening to everything that you guys have to say in response to my video. So please share your thoughts, comments, concerns, everything in the comment section down below, and I will make sure that I get back to you. Now, another way that you can support the channel and say thanks for all of the free content that I make. I spend a lot of time making this content. You can go down to the link below and you can buy me a cup of coffee. It's as simple as just a $5 donation, and it would just really help support this this channel so that I can continue making these videos. All right, that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching the show.